So as always, Bukola, I was seeing what was playing out yesterday. It's part of the conversation we're having this morning, perhaps with the incident at the airport. All kinds of documents flying around. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the story, Fuji artist, who I see as a heritage cultural ambassador, we understand he was aboard the flights, a value jet flight, and he had substance that was not supposed to be on that flight. You know, they have protocol at the airport, and he insisted on flying, but I understand he was deported. He was not allowed to fly. Just to cut the long story short, he actually, so the video you're seeing there, he actually made his way to the front of the aircraft, not allowing the aircraft to taxi to the runway, and then things escalated rather quickly where the pilot had to move, almost causing a casualty in that sense. My happiness, guys, is the fact that there's no casualty, but there's recklessness on all sides as far as this issue is concerned. And I'm happy the way the authorities have decided to address this issue from what I have read so far. Well, he said he's made his own statement. I mean, KWAM now, the Fuji star, that he did not do this, he did not do that. But we have video evidence of the fact that he stood in front of the aircraft and was almost knocked down, including himself and others. So it was irresponsible of the pilot to have tried that. I'm sure the person was provoked. I understand the license of those pilots have been held back, suspended. I mean, for a time being, himself has now been put on no-fly list. So we understand for the next 6 months, KWAM will not be flying any domestic, I don't know whether international is included, airline in Nigeria, just to teach him a lesson. I do not know what level. I just feel that it was a question of, no matter how you were provoked, no matter how whatever happened, this is not a Ojota bus stop where you stand in front of a bus, which is even as dangerous as this is an aircraft. Whoever you know is inconsequential. They have their protocol, and if they insist you're not flying, there are other ways you could actually seek redress. And I'm happy the big hammer is hitting everybody responsible. The pilot itself shouldn't have done that. KWAM shouldn't have done that. Now everybody is, in Nigerian term, collecting. They should teach everyone a lesson that no matter how highly placed or how highly connected you are, there are rules you must obey and respect. And I'm happy that everybody is being punished. In fact, the NCAA and I think another agency of government has now petitioned the IGP and the AGF to prosecute him. I think the Honorable Minister calls it temporary madness. There are words that should even be worse than that. I don't know whether anyone can do this on maybe Heathrow or JFK or any other airport outside our country to go and stand and block aircraft for whatever reason. There's a way you can ground an aircraft without even standing in front of it if you have that level of connection. But doing this was irresponsible on the part of the musician and also irresponsible on the part of the pilot, because by now we'll be talking about dead or wounded people. But I think it's satisfactory to see the punishment being meted out on these culprits on both sides. Guys.
Oh, well, of course, we know that, the performing artist pushed back on the incident when he issued a statement through his media aide yesterday. And, I'm just reading from it now. It says at no point, that's by Kunle Rashid, his media aide, did KWAM act in a manner that endangered lives or breached safety regulations. The substance in question, which was wrongly sensationalized, was nothing more than plain drinking water given to him at the airport lounge while he waited to board the aircraft. And despite his respectful effort to clarify this, the situation was unnecessarily escalated. And it goes on to say that appeals were made to him despite the near fist-off that ensued between him and the ValueJet staff, that he should board another aircraft free of charge, but that he declined and all of that. But this begs the question, if indeed it was mere water, even water wouldn't have passed pre-boarding stage. If you are a regular flyer, you would know. But even if it was that, airport officials, the airline officials, would still have prevailed upon him not to, carry liquid to fly. So these are the real issues. And beyond the punitive measures meted out on the ValueJet air staff and even the performing artists, what about the, the staff at the pre-boarding stage who would have let him pass. This came through during our conversation yesterday, and it shows the selective nature of treatment meted out on regular travelers and, of course, on VIP travelers. So those officials at that level must be investigated as well. Who were those on duty? And sanctions must be meted out on them as well. And this incident, is reflective of our ethos in our society, this you know who I be syndrome, or this anyhowness. And what happened at the pre-flying stage that we saw yesterday is a dangerous show of strength, both on the path of the pilots and indeed the performing artist himself. It shouldn't have gotten to that stage as well. We shouldn't, be displaying this on the international community. This shouldn't be what transpires on our fly zone and the aviation sector. And it's good to see how measures are being put in place just to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Kayode.
Well, the minister put out a statement yesterday, and I think the minister went back to his human rights defender posture in that sense, because he wears a couple of hats these days. There's the aviation minister, there's a politician ahead of 2027, and then there's what we've known him for. And in that statement which he put out, in fact, he said that the issue of whether he was carrying water or alcohol is not even an issue at this point. It is a physical blockage of the aircraft from taxiing that is a reprehensible conduct here, which akin to a hostage situation. And that's the footage you're seeing. Now, the footage that a lot of people saw earlier on was from a distance, maybe 60 meters or thereabouts or more. So it was hard to really figure out what was happening. But this is a reverse angle. In fact, at some point, you see him putting his hand on the aircraft at that point, and that's what the minister was speaking to. He had said that, contrary to what his people had said, that in fact, he was actually blocking the aircraft, which is why he asked the Civil Aviation Authority to commence prosecution on KWAM 1, and that's why we're reporting to you now that the NCAA has asked the AGF, the IGP, to prosecute KWAM 1 for unruly behavior. In fact, the minister noted in his statement that he was quite curious that punishment was meted out to the pilots, but nothing was said of the passenger himself. And he said that, well, as the human rights defender that I am, I think that is unfair. So this must be done. So we're to find out what plays out with the prosecution, particularly because everybody knows that the singer is a staunch supporter of President Bola Tinubu. He has performed at many of the ruling party's rallies across the country.
Let's make it straight. He's an official performer at the rallies of the All Progressives Congress. We know he's a strong supporter of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and it is exactly as a result of this that this must be seen to a logical conclusion. It must not be swept under the carpet such that in another month or two from now, we no longer hear that this has seen a definitive end where this kind of behavior should be punished, such that it serves as a deterrent, to other VIPs who may want to exhibit this conduct in the future. You don't stand in front of a massive aircraft trying to prevent it from flying just because you're a VIP. It makes absolutely no sense. And the point must be made that it's a dangerous, again, show of strength on the part of the performing artist and the pilot as well. There must have been a better way to manage this, such that the officials on ground, their lives are protected, because it could have turned out anyway. But we're glad that everyone is safe and there have been no injuries recorded.
I'm happy, without speaking for the federal government, when KWAM and the agencies speak, that is the federal government. This is the good optics for this federal government. They should align this as part of what, I'm serious. They should reference this moment.
As part of their wins in first.
I don't know what to call it. I don't know, because sometimes, because I am big on, democracy is about optics. That's what I believe. Especially when you're connected to power. Everybody knows he's connected to power at the state and the federal level right now. So it is important the federal government sends its optics as strong as possible. If I'm flying, I'm going to be looking around. If I see him in any aircraft, I'll raise alarm. I'm that serious.
Well, aviation rules are very stringent.
Yeah, so
it's not even local, it's international.
It's important for the image of Nigeria. This is beyond him. This is about the image of Nigeria, because if somebody is connected to the president and he's not punished like this, you're going to send a wrong message. Even if it's for the optics, let them ensure it doesn't fly. For as long as their rules say someone cannot fly for exhibiting this kind of behavior. On this, I support the federal government. The federal government, in case you're looking for President Bola Tinubu to speak, no, the federal government has spoken. KWAM is federal government. The NCAA, they are all federal government. So they have now taken what they should do. So leave the president out of it. Let the man be punished, just like as the pilots have been punished. Guys.
Absolutely. So still a lot to unpack on that one. But let's tell you about two people who are making the nation proud. In fact, a lot of them, I must say, but we must single out two of them. The coach of the Super Falcons and the goalkeeper of the Super Falcons been nominated for Global Award, goalkeeper nominated for Ballon d'Or, and our coach nominated for Coach of the Year. And that is really beautiful to see, particularly after the Mission X was a success, a big success, the $100,000 and the other things that came with it. So this is like the icing on the cake. So just to highlight a man and a woman making Nigeria proud today. So congratulations ahead. We hope that something big comes out of this for Nadozie. That's a goalkeeper of Super Falcons, who's been nominated for Best Goalkeeper, and Madugu, the coach, who's been nominated for Women's Team Coach Awards. The 69th Ballon d'Or will be held on September the 22nd in Paris.
And
France.
so shall we say go, go, go to Nadozie and Coach Madugu, bring back...
Prayers up for them.
Yeah. And, you know, Jeffrey and Kylie, just to add that, certainly success has a lot of relatives at this point. You know, I saw in the news the other day, the Imo State government splashing 30 million naira on members of the Super Falcons who are of Imo extraction. And for Coach Justin Madugu as well, he's from Adamawa State. The Adamawa State government has, you know, generously bestowed upon him a gift of 50 million naira and I believe a property as well. Well, on behalf of them, shall we say we are grateful.
Have those monies hit their accounts is the question.
Well, the announcement has been made, so let's have faith.
No, we need to ensure, we need to follow the story to the end. So please let us know privately, because I know you don't want to make it public.
But
it's important.
The point must be made that we must learn to appreciate ours before the, you know, bring laurels from the international scene. Let's learn to invest in them. You know, there's an abundance of talent at the grassroots that must also be given attention to. So it's not until you know, they become international stars that we, you know, want to identify with them. But it's a good thing, and we thank the Adamawa State government and the Imo State government on their behalf.
Please give them. If you have 1 billion, give them. It's their time. I'm serious. Give as much as you can. If private individuals should give, you may never know. Some of them may never have this again in their lives. So I'm just advising, like every other financial person I saw was advising them, put this money to good use so that 40 years, 30 years from now, when things happen to you, we're not going to be hearing, oh, the government abandoned you. Now the government is smiling at you. 150 million, 30 million, all of these things. Please put it to good use. So I am pro, give as much as you can. We can debate about the priority later. Please give them. That's just what it is. It's their moment. Let them savor it. Let them enjoy it. They brought us pride as a nation. We're always divided on different fronts. This is one place where we don't have that division, and I always like to stay in that place. So I know we can argue about priority, but right now is their moment. Let them enjoy it. Guys, what do we have for you?
Quite a lot, but let's tell you that the EFCC chairman has been speaking about, you know, properties owned, particularly in the nation's capital, Abuja, big ones, by the way. And what is shocking is that he says it's owned by, or they are owned by a lot of public servants or civil servants who stole money right? And while that came through as a shocker for a few, it wasn't a shocker for a lot of people. But what a lot of people were waiting to hear then is, where are they? Do they still own it? Have we found a way to prosecute them? What exactly is going on? But he made this statement. Let's take a listen to the chairman of the EFCC.
By virtue of the empirical evidence we have gathered and some of the things we have seen, statistics and our reports, we discovered that the issue of money laundering is very rampant among estate developers, extremely rampant, and also the stakeholders in the industry. Don't forget the legal principle of accessory before and after the fact. So if somebody steals money and uses it to buy property from you, and we trace that money to you, we will recover it from you. Yes. The trend I've noticed in Nigeria in the area of real estate development and business is that a lot of people just go into it who know absolutely close to nothing about it. Everybody goes into real estate. The moment you are able to have access to small money, 100, 200 million, buy land, build house, and sell. Let us always understand that to every business, there is a rule, applicable rules. And it's extremely in the interest of the stakeholders that the rules should be followed. The difference between our country and other developed countries where things work is just of compliance.
So a lot of things said. You could see the head of MBA as well, who was at that meeting. Yes, there you see him, and you saw a lot of other lawyers and stakeholders. One thing is clear, corruption is not an individual thing. In fact, too many times you find some professionals who are part of it, either willfully or otherwise. But the point is, if we want to fight corruption, we have to fight it together. So I'm glad we have the lawyers also in the building to have that conversation, because once any corruption case starts, what I call it, person being prosecuted, lawyers up, gets the very best legal representation. And that's why we see a lot of times the FCC losing cases. Yes, we can talk about the EFCC also not doing a proper job. A lot of times go to the media and the case is messed up. But it's important to bring people together to resolve all of those corruption cases.
It's impressive. I've always said that the EFCC chairman, we're impressed with some of the things he's doing. Me, I just want him to catch politicians. That is my own. He's gone after Yahoo boys, and we understand that some people were into even trading. There are people that are trading legally, and there are people that are using it as conduit for corruption and all of that. He goes after them. The reason why it's easy to catch Yahoo boys and all these guys is because you can track it. You know, this internet leaves trails. You can track it. And now civil servant, I don't, as you said, I totally agree with Coyote. It's only somebody who is not familiar with the territory that doesn't know that civil servants are involved in a lot of corruption. In fact, without civil servants, you can't commit corruption, because they sign off documents. They understand the system better than even the politicians. The politicians, maximum, they have 4 to 8 years, or as long as their office lasts. But these civil servants are career people, 35 years or more. So they understand how the system works. So in cahoot with the politicians, they carry out these things and they know how it works. But another layer, Mr. Olukoyede, with the greatest respect and for all you've done, where are the politicians that are, these civil servants, they are not just stealing the money all by themselves. They are in cahoot with some of the political class. We want to see politicians prosecuted and sent to jail for the ones that are guilty. The ones that are not guilty, free them and let their names be clean. Until that is done, I will keep saying it. No matter what this EFCC chairman does, if he likes, he catches 20,000 Yahoo boys every hour and catch 25,000 civil servants. If we don't see a big politicians, the average Nigerian's mentality is that you're not working, and you won't blame them, because they just see people who had no career before, who had nothing, just get into office, and then they are super wealthy. You ask them questions, and now they made their money. They are stuttering. They are giving explanation that is not tenable. Wealth without enterprise. And we have them, is a plethora. They are all over the place. From the national to the state level, people are just stupendously wealthy, and you cannot tell what they did. Some of them cannot tell what they did to make money. Those are the ones who want to be caught by this chairman. Mr. Chairman, thank you for what you're doing, but but catch the big thieves.
But Jeffrey, before we thank the FCC chairman...
No, thank you for what he has done.
It's a sandwich approach. Thank you.
Thank you for
giving more credit.
We must ask questions about outcomes, because it's simplistic, to come out and say that corruption is predominant in the public service. Most houses in Abuja are owned by civil servants. Okay, so what happens after that? And what the FCC chairman has said, by the way, is not new. In January, during a meeting with members of the Bureau for Public Procurement, he also said similar statement about, corruption in public service forming 90% of fraud cases. We know that these things happen. If you were to get something done in the civil service, you know that more often than not, money changes hands. So everyone is particularly guilty. So civil servants may not even be singled out. But what are deliberate, definitive steps taken to, rein in on corruption, to make an example of certain persons? What about the high-profile cases? I might want to remind the EFCC chair at this point in time, what about the case against former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs? Has there been any prosecution? We doubt that. But there must be steps taken to either, declare her innocence or her guilt. What about other high-profile cases of some members, of the ruling and opposition party who are currently in government? So it's simplistic to, identify what seems to be the symptoms without treating the root causes. Don't forget that the EFCC chair also said months back, earlier in the year, that corruption is predominant in the power sector. How many people have been prosecuted as a result? I guess doubled down on it yesterday when he says that this current EFCC leadership seems to, court the media a lot, but what are the outcomes of this engagement and this, identification of the real issues with society? I believe that's part of the problem that should also be dealt with.
And something that we're trying to unravel at this point, just to tell the world, is the detention of a presidential candidate of the AAC in the 2023 election, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. This began on Wednesday. We understand that, well, the police had invited him for questioning, and he honored the invitation. There you see Mr. Sowore just weeks ago protesting, ironically, in support of serving and retired police officers. In fact, this was when his
Ray-Ban.
Yeah, his sunglasses were removed and all. But we understand that he's still in detention ever since he honored that invitation from the IGP monitoring unit at the force headquarters. We understand from what we know so far that the police invitation followed allegations of forgery and criminal defamation. However, the police is yet to disclose the full details of the petitions, despite Mr. Sowore's insistence on transparency before appearing. In fact, Mr. Sowore put up a post on his social media handle about 19 hours ago that showed him with a bandage on his right wrist, I believe, saying that at 6 a.m. on Thursday morning now, the police team led by Chief Superintendent of Police came into his cell and said they were taking him to court. It's a lot really to unravel on this one, and it just leaves a really bad taste in the mouth. So what exactly is going on? How long has this been in detention?
Wednesday.
Thursday. And today's Friday.
If he has committed a crime, let them take him to court. This is a man who protested and we were hailing it. I know that he's been at loggerhead. He calls a IGP, legal IGP, he's very forward. It doesn't matter whose ox he's got, he speaks his mind. But if you're uncomfortable with his posturing and his posture, there's a legal system. Because whatever you do, whether it's true or false, somebody who is as popular as he is, and especially on social media, and he engages all manner of platforms to, push his message out, it's important that whatever the police does, they should know it will impact on the image of the Nigerian police and by extension, Nigeria. So if he's been detained since Wednesday, we need to be clear on what happened, what's the case, and by now should have been, taken to court. Has he been granted administrative bail? Has he met the condition of the administrative bail? What exactly is going on? This is not something you shroud in secrecy or any form of, I don't know. It just leaves a bad taste. So the IGP and the force authority, I think it's time to sort out this relationship between Omoyele Sowore and yourselves. If you have anything against him, because this may be interpreted as abuse of power if you're not careful. If he's supposed to go to court and you're not taking him to court, he's not sure of the charges brought against him, we don't have clarity from your side, we're not in the banana republic. So I'm not making excuses or defending anyone, just simple transparency so that when we come here, we can speak to say, oh, Sowore committed this offense, this is why he's brought there, he's been granted administrative bail, his fundamental rights has not been breached, but he's not been able to fulfill the bail, blah, 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 blah. Let that clarity come. Else, whatever is said in between that gap will be seen to be true, and that's not good for the police, whom everyone is fighting for. It's bad.
Yeah, so it's a good thing that the NLC has joined the fray in this conversation, demanding transparency and accountability in the continued arrest of the AAC presidential candidate. So we're using this opportunity to ask that the Force Bureau speaks on this in a short term rather than the long term, such that we know what exactly is happening. If he's guilty, if he's culpable in any charge whatsoever, let the charge come through and let him be arraigned before a competent court of law. But if not, let him be released as soon as possible.